Thank you, worshipful brother Arasu. Just before that, we have a galaxy of Masonic dignitaries. I would like to recognize the presence of most worshipful brother Captain Dr. Balaram Vishwakumar, past Grandmaster, past Regional Grandmaster, Right Worshipful brother D. Dorairaj, current Deputy Regional Grandmaster, and the host of other Assistant Regional Grandmasters. Welcome to all of you. My dear brethren, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it a privilege to introduce Sri Raja Krishnamoorthy, a multifaceted personality, a wonderful human being, and a good friend of mine. I have been fortunate to know him for the past 11 years. A thought leader, popular speaker, certified trainer and coach, champion of self-awareness, and social development activist. These are the various phases. As a thought leader, an independent OD consultant, organization development consultant from 1985, till date, Raja has worked along with diverse business and non-business organizations as an advisor, organization development consultant, a coach, a mentor, trainer, and visiting faculty. As a consultant, Raja has been a guide and advisor to CEOs and HR heads of corporate organizations. As a speaker, as a sought after and powerful motivational speaker, he continues to energize students, corporate teams, public social service organizations, and institutional audience through special keynote addresses like today, seminars and guest lectures. He delivers his talks in English as well as in Tamil. He addresses on an average at least one public forum every fortnight. He focuses on corporate issues, socio-cultural concerns, youth leadership, individual and social transformation, and living positively. As a certified trainer and coach, Raja has completed his professional training in applied behavioral sciences with ISD in 1980 as group process facilitator and trainer under Dr. Piolin Gar. This approach has a deep application in most of Raja's work. He is certified in coaching and mentoring with Coach University, Coach U, USA. This is an institution founded by Thomas Leonard, the father of coaching movement across India, across USA. Champion of self-awareness. Raja continues to be a student of Vedanta, the core of ancient Indian and Eastern philosophy. He champions the need for self-knowledge for the evolution of the mind. Self-knowledge, the core awareness of being human, helps in understanding and overcoming many human challenges of today. As a social development activist, Raja is concerned with socio, civic, cultural issues and plays active roles in matters concerning common good of the people and towards a better tomorrow. His academic qualifications, Bachelor of Commerce, MLD College, University of Bombay, 1973, Master of Management Studies from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management, Bombay, 1975. Besides his consulting and leadership development services to many clients, he is currently a co-founder and director at Talent Maximus India Private Limited, a HR services organization. Coming to a very interesting part of Raja, as a creative person, Raja has acted in many Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Hindi films. Popular as Kitty, he is a respected character artist in Indian cinema. How can we forget a movie, Dalabadi, where he would have acted with superstars? Beyond acting, Raja has written and directed plays, scripted and directed movies in Tamil cinema. Raja has also co-authored a book, Rajini's Panch Tantra. Hope superstar Rajinikanth's fans will recollect this book, co-authored by Raja Krishnamoorthy, and blogs on Living Life Unlimited. Brethren, ladies and gentlemen, presenting to this august audience, Sri Raja Krishnamoorthy, Over to you, sir.
May we now request the chief guest, Mr. Raja Krishnamoorthy, to unmute himself and start the address, please.
Very good evening. Am I audible to all our friends now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. And the voice is coming through pretty okay, sir?
Yes, it's perfect.
All right. So let me begin by thanking all of you very sincerely for this opportunity that you have given for me to be sharing some of the thoughts, ideas, perspectives with you. First of all, let me congratulate the members of this Satsang. I love the name, the very phenomena of Satsang, of goodness coming together, is very, very meaningful and invigorating. And the whole concept of universal brotherhood that is represented by this institution is very relevant and most meaningful in today's times. So what is this universal brotherhood? What does it really mean? Is this interesting if one has to stretch it, a fancy idea? Or is it something of a deep belief that human beings have carried from time immemorial? And I would say that has been the core philosophy of humanity right across continents, right across religions, right across faith. If you look at the very Indian and Eastern philosophy, and if you come down even more closely to the native state here, Yadum Ure Yavarum Kelir, everything is your home and everybody is your brethren, is a beautiful statement that we talk about. Like our friend Rajesh concluded his address beautifully, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. The whole idea is we pray for the well-being of every being that exists. So fundamentally, as far as this philosophy is concerned, it embraces the idea of universal brotherhood, straight and simple. Look at Islam, beautiful kind of concepts out there. And if you look at Quran and what it talks about, very beautifully, you go to chapter 4, Surah 1, where he talks about that one Atman from which every being has been created. Absolutely very similar, very identical to the concept of Atma and the Paramatma and the whole creation coming out of the Paramatma from the Eastern philosophy. Look at the beauty of Christianity. It talks about, therefore, the God, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And very beautiful if you take John 4, 24th Tasam. God is the Spirit. And therefore, this whole idea that it's the Spirit that's behind everything in terms of its creation, which is the omnipotent, omniscient, and the omnipresent kind of entity. All faiths, therefore, talk about this concept of universality. And what do we pick up from that? I think the most important thing that we pick up is this very beautiful message that what really makes every one of us alive, what really makes all of us to be who we are, being human, is that undefined, unstructured, unformed spirit within. So what happens to the world of form? So very beautifully, again, all of these faiths talk about this world, which is the world of form, and that world, which is the world of spirit, in every one of our faiths. So I think all these faiths talk about this whole reality, which is the objective reality, the world of forms, and this amazing truth about every one of us, which is a subjective reality, which is the Atmic reality or the Atman or the soulfulness or the very essence of our creation. Now, is this just a philosophy? I think we can go beyond the philosophy and touch our science and say, what does science really say? We don't have to be scientific, kind of laureates to know scientifically what is the truth. We can ask each other a simple question. I can ask you a question, when were you born? And suppose I ask Krishna or suppose I ask Kandelwalji or any one of you, I'm sure you'll come back with an answer. For example, if somebody has normally asked me, Raja, when were you born? My answer would have been 26th of November, let's say 1952. That's what you would have answered. And I would say, hey, you know what? You understood my question in a particular way. My intention was different, but your answer was different. I'm asking you, when were you created? You're telling me the date of your delivery into the world. They are two different things. And then you sit back and say, yeah, because 9 months before you are delivered into the world, you're already alive in the womb of your mother. And then you say, yeah, that's the truth. I was already alive, created. And then I say, hey, you know what, Krishna? Before you became part of your mother's womb, in some interesting form, you were there as a part of your father and part of your mother. Then Krishna says, yeah, that's also true. Then I'm saying, hey, Krishna, before you became part of your father into that particular kind of a thing, you are part of his, kind of energy in terms of some kind of a, physical reality, part of the bloodstream, whatever. He says, yeah, that's also true. I was already there to become whatever I had to become. Then I'm saying, hey, before you became part of the blood, you must have been part of the food that he ate, because annam is what makes the body. He says, yeah, that's also true. So I must have been that food that I ate. So before that brinjal, or, before you became that pumpkin, or before you became that katrika vendeka, you must have been part of the plant, right, in which you grew. He says, yeah, that's also true. And then I'm telling Krishna, before you became the plant, you must have been part of the earth on which it grew, part of the water that it really sucked inside, part of the space that it occupied, part of the sunlight that it grew, kind of glue on you, must be part of the whole space that it provided. You must have been part of that Panchabhuta in some way. Krishna says, yeah, that is also true. Then I'm saying, hey, Krishna, before you became the Panchabhutas, were you not part of that absolutely costless reality entity which existed, which was the core of creation, the Mula Karana, the original cause of existence, which we call for our convenience Paramatma, or the Spirit, or that creator of everything, that Allah who never can be seen by anything, but everything that is seen in the world created by him. Such a beautiful reality about every one of us. But what does this really teach us? That is a question. It teaches us something very fundamental, which nature tells us every day. Look out of the window. If God ever thought that everybody must be the same, you think that he would have created these millions of flowers? He would have said, one rose, let the whole world be full of rose. If he believed that everything should be the same, you think he would have created these millions of fruits? He would have said, one banana, banana is the whole world. If he thought the whole world should have one tree, he would have said, coconut tree, let there be coconut trees across the universe. He created multi-million forms. And God said, this is celebration. Diversity, difference, changes. This is the celebration of forms. But within all forms, the core essence is what I pick up from myself and place into you, the Atman. My dear brothers, such a beautiful gift that God has given to us, saying that your forms can be different. You could be in any continent. You could be a male or a female. You could be a Hindu, Christian, or an Islamic guy. It does not matter. You could be the managing director of an organization. You could be the security guard opening the gate out there. Like our famous Tamil poet Bharatiyar said, Vallagam Vaiyagam Kapavarenam, you could be the savior of the world. You could be just running with a tokri selling bananas. It doesn't matter. Poyyagala Toril say that with integrity, if you're existing, you're all the same. My dear friends, we need to ask this question. How did this world, how did this human system lose this amazing truth? Why are we where are we today? I think that is the question that we need to ask. And very unfortunately, I would say, this amazing Atmic truth about us, this amazing subjective reality about us, this amazing spirituality about us, held in every faith, somewhere we have lost track of it, or we have lost the focus of being able to live and operate from that fundament. Let's very quickly look at what has happened in the last about 500 years. When did this world start becoming such an amazingly developing kind of a world? I think quickly our scientific mind goes back to saying, you know what? 500 years back, the Industrial Revolution started. Yes. So about 500 years back, when the Industrial Revolution started, and especially with the advent of a few things, the steam engine, the power of the wheel, the electricity, the firepower of what can happen, something phenomenally different happened in the world of material reality, or what we call as the objective reality. By the way, objective reality and material reality is the same. It is the world of forms. So when I ask you the question as to what is this in my hand, you say that it's a scissor. Nobody is saying that it is a pen in my hand. Why? Because it's an object and it can be only one. It can either be a scissor or it can be something else. It cannot be two different things. So the world of objective reality is about material which we identify through the 5 sensory organs that we have. And then that form is given a particular name. So this particular form, which I identify through my eye, my sensory organ, is called, given a name called scissor. And that is how the world of objective reality gets created. And that is how language gets created, because language is also a form. So if I write a in Tamil, it is a form. Therefore, I know it's a. If I write a form called a, it is a form. Therefore, in English, you say a. If I write a in Hindi, then it is a form. The world of form creates language. And therefore, the world of language creates us thoughts and ideas. Therefore, our whole building up of thoughts and ideas becomes again an objective reality. And therefore, the most interesting thing is then people say, you know what? It is good that you understand this in the letter, but please understand it in the spirit. Because the letter can still stop us at the world of form. But I think it's the spirit that we want to talk about. So what happened 500 years back? With the Industrial Revolution that took place, suddenly the world of material reality got its biggest boost. Factory manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, the power of steam, the power of firepower, and then the invent of, electricity, and all of that started happening, which means creating material things, products, became a phenomenally efficient kind of a thing. From few to many to innumerable into crores and millions, the capacity to produce industrially large things started happening. Well, when that starts happening, the material desire slowly becomes material greed. Therefore, the societies and systems which were advanced with this industrial revolution and the scientific knowledge behind that, as they started progressing, few other interesting things happened. Shipping became much better with the steam, and the ability to conquer places became much better with firepower. And therefore, the superiority of technology gave access to the next reality, which I call as the invasion revolution. And that's where you see across Africa, across Asia, across America, across different continents, invasions and occupations and colonizations started happening. Well, it was a product of scientific capability, no doubt about that. All right, fair enough. So when this invasion revolution took place, what was it contributing to again? Like, for example, if you take typically India, it came in as East India Company, very respectful, but it was beyond trading. Then it became also in terms of colonization, which became therefore administration, then acculturation. Well, this logically, it kind of kept happening. If it's in Africa, then it came into occupation, then came in slavery. Then if you look at the United States or the North America, well, from one stage of discovering by Columbus, then the native Indian is not the Indian anymore. So there's an interesting pattern that happens. Material pursuit becomes therefore connected with invasive, or if I may say, intrusive kind of revolution. And of course, then that has a political, socio-political, socio-cultural kind of impact. Slowly, as the end of 18th century and the beginning of 19th century started happening, desire by social systems and countries to become globally strong became an offshoot of this objective reality strength or the material strength. Beginning of last century saw therefore the emergence of blocs and the emergence of world wars. And wars started getting decided by the technological, or if I may use the term, the material progress a particular nation has made. Slowly, if you really look at that, the movement further in terms of Second World War, and then of course, atomic explosion and the catastrophe in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, if you look at that, technology, material strength, scientific knowledge took mankind to such ultimate levels, but all that progress was paralleled by what you may see as destruction and devastation too. Then came something very interesting, and that is the information technology revolution, which happened, let us say, about 40 years back, 50 years back. So industrial revolution, one big leap. Invasive revolution, another kind of leap. Information revolution, the third kind of leap. Look at very closely, what did information revolution do? So knowledge at the speed of thought, precisely. Data, information management at the speed of thought. What a fantastic statement. So there are 4 levels at which we need to look at that. It comes in as data, which is the representation of a reality of a unit, becomes information, which is patterns of that data. Now, application of that for productive purposes, that becomes knowledge. After knowledge, there is still one more place, and that is the world of wisdom. The world of wisdom decides how much you should be caught up with the material knowledge and how much you should be preoccupied with self-knowledge. Alas, information technology does not take us to wisdom. It's only philosophy that takes us to wisdom. Information technology will take us from the world of data to the world of information to the world of knowledge. But the world of wisdom is still philosophical. The world of wisdom is still subjective. But what has happened over these centuries with this industrial revolution, with this invasive revolution, with this information technology revolution, and now, of course, the intelligence revolution that is happening around, socio-political systems have got completely embedded, entrenched, drowned, and devastated with objective reality and material reality. You may ask, Raja, what is the challenge about that? Let me explain very briefly. The world of objective reality will consist of 3 important dimensions. The first dimension is time. The second dimension is quantity. And the third dimension is quality. Why? The opposite, if you look at it, you will understand the world of spirit, the world of Atma is timeless. It is beyond all times. It is all pervasive. Therefore, it is beyond any space and is eternally fulfilled and self-content. Therefore, it has no quality standards. It's eternally Purnatvam. So you have on the one hand, the material reality, objective reality, which is limited by time, limited by space, limited by quality. And then you have this spiritual, Atmic reality, which is absolutely timeless, spaceless, and absolutely self-fulfilling. So what happens in the world of material reality? Why is this mad pursuit that is happening? Now, the normal mind tells each other that, you know what, related to time, if you and I can do things faster, then we are better and progressing. Nothing wrong about that. In terms of space and quantity, if you have little more, that looks better. There's nothing wrong with that idea. In terms of quality, if we can be better and better, a little more special, that will be progress. There's nothing wrong with that idea. As long as you're also simultaneously holding the other subjective reality in hand, which is the world of being human and the world of sensitivity. But the moment you lose touch with the world of sensitivity, the world of being human, the world of that subjective reality, the world of Atmic reality, then what happens to these factors is something drastically different. The same speed which makes you feel better, if I'm faster than before, I'm better, when it loses sensitivity, it becomes haste and rashness. You become blind. You do not care about what happens to the other human beings. Look at the second one, quantity. Yes, something more is better, but larger and larger and larger. So it begins with need, then it becomes a want, then it becomes a desire, then it becomes a preoccupation, then it becomes a mad pursuit. Slowly it becomes greed. From need, when it translates into greed, you are completely losing the sensitivity and the touch with the subjective reality. You go to the third one, quality. Yes, Something better is better. Can I be different from others? Can I be a little more exclusive? Tanittuvam. Fair enough. But the moment you lose sensitivity, slowly, the same uniqueness becomes arrogance. Nobody like me. So what is the manifestation of these three things? Just think about it, gentlemen. Haste has become the way of time being calculated. Greed has become the way of quantity being assessed. And arrogance has become the way of establishing quality. Multiply this into a social system and socio-political system, the world of superpower is what I will accept, nothing less. We have the problem in hand. Socio-political systems have to determine who is the superpower. I don't have to give deeper explanations about the pandemic and what is happening with coronavirus and all that. And then somewhere, that silent God smiles, and all that he does probably is, okay, you have development, you have material development, I like that. So how much more do you want? And the man says, I want more, I want more. And man talks about the conquer of nature. And then one little virus called a corona one comes and slaps on the face of the humankind and says, sit down, or not even sit down, just shut up, and shuts down the whole universe. My dear friends, we lost touch and we are losing touch with this amazing reality which needs to be simultaneously experienced, kept in mind, and become the pathway for all of us. The universal brotherhood, the Atmic reality about every one of us, for all of us to be human beings in spirit, not just in letters. And because we have forgotten it somewhere, and we got completely caught up with this idea of objective reality, you think that Raja is talking about something a little exaggerated? Just ask a simple question to your child. Just ask your team in the organization. Just ask your boss. Are you not talking about life is competitive day in and day out? Are not your children really infused with the idea that you've got to be very competitive in life? Where is this deficit mentality coming from? Where did you think that the other human being existing in the world is a rival to you? Because when you say competition, you're talking about somebody else having an advantage, or you better have the advantage. Why did we become so suspicious about each other? Why did we become so untrusting about each other? Even though in terms of language and sophistication, we may have all the niceties, why are we carrying within us this idea that life is competitive? My dear friends, time for a wake-up call. The truth is life is collaborative. I don't know what is the air that I'm breathing, because this air comes with the breathing of multi-millions of people. Life is collaborative. I talk about a simple example. I talk about this example where, you go to the Saradaban restaurant and then you sit down there and you order for idli. Fair enough. The waiter comes and serves you idli. So for your idli, he is the first connecting point. But do you think that he is the maker of idli? No. So he is picking it up from the kitchen and there is a supervisor arranging it in plates. That is the second link. Is the supervisor manufacturing it? No. It is the chef who is being assisted by an assistant. So the assistant becomes the third connect. The chef becomes the fourth connect. But did the chef get all the material? No. There was an errand boy who got it from the shop. So that becomes the fifth connect. But somebody in the shop kind of handed it over to him. That is a shop assistant. Sixth connect. Logically, if you go, and I do this exercise with youngsters, my dear friends, for a grain of rice and a grain of udad to become an idli and enter your mouth and my mouth, there's a legitimate minimum 30 connections in the world. Is life collaborative or is life competitive? What are we teaching our children? What are we putting into our own heads? My dear friends, as long as this deficit mentality will continue in us, as long as this greed is going to be driving the material objective reality, as long as this exclusivity converted into arrogance is going to determine socio-political powers, mankind is working towards a self-destructive mode. Very beautifully nature, very beautifully providence, very beautifully God the Creator tells us. He tells us that, hey man, don't you see that every day, for every brightness of the morning sun emerging, I bring the night of darkness. The duality has to exist. For every male species that you have out there, be it a man, be it an animal, be it a plant, there is a female species that I make. For every season of coldness, I give you a season of warmth. Duality is the reality, he tells you. So when you say that we have got to conquer nature, he smiles. So phenomenal development, he says, will be matched by phenomenal destruction. You just can't help it. When you lose sensitivity, when you lose the connect with the Atmic reality, this is what happens. My dear friends, therefore the time for all of us to sit back. And during this lockdown period, whenever normative exercise of wanting entertainment, wanting to go out, wanting to, kind of run around, wanting to be in the rat race, you don't even realize that at the end of winning the race, you still feel like a rat, but you want to be part of the rat race. When there is a pause of this kind, I think we can do a different thing. Rather than being caught up with this external objective reality, because that is the truth. These 5 sensory organs, so beautifully Krishna says, are like those mad horses. They will all the time take you outside and what they say. To us, to the youngsters, when we say digital world, what we are saying is my eye and my mind is preoccupied with this one little thing for 75% of the time. Isn't that the truth? Visually, I'm connected. Audio, I'm connected. Mind-wise, I'm connected. I'm connected to stuff. I'm not connected to the self. My dear friends, time to strike a balance being connected to the systems and to the stuff as much to be connected to the self. Time for self-awareness of a very, very deeper kind. And that's why I think a wake-up call is coming to all of us. And therefore, I talk about the 5S. It's interesting. In the Japanese Kaizen system and all that, they talk about this very interesting productivity tool called the 5S, which talks about those 5 Japanese words are there, which talks about sorting out the things, setting them in order. So sorting out, setting in order, shining, keeping it neat and clean, standardizing, creating them into consistent kind of things, and finally sustaining reliability in terms of the processes. The 5S, I think it is time for us today, in the world of subjective reality, in the world of being human, to discover, not discover, reinforce and remember the 5 S's. And by the way, my dear brothers of this brotherhood, it is very, very close and almost in alignment with your philosophy. So what are these 5 S's? So beautifully Madhusudan sir talked about the 3 things, and it touched my heart, sir. So you reinforced it even ahead of my own talk. So let me talk to you about these 5 S's that I believe are the realities of today that we need to pursue. The first one is sensitivity. What is sensitivity? Sensitivity is very fundamental and simple. It's going back to the roots of the Atmic reality, which says that it is the same Atma present in every element of creation. And therefore, I respect everything the way I respect myself. What am I in myself is what I see in you. What I see in you is what I see in myself. That is sensitivity. If I want to be respected, I respect others. I respect the plant. I respect the animal. I respect nature. We come from such a glorious philosophy where everything of nature is respected, worshipped. In every culture, deep down, if you look at it, nature is worshipped. So sensitivity, when I talk about it, it's not just about sensitivity of one human being to the another human being. It is the sensitivity also to the social systems. When I say social system, I'm talking about the natural environmental systems, to the greenery, to the animals, to the natural resources, to the 5 elements. Man has unfortunately become a kind of mad animal where he wants to get, and then he forgets. Nature gives and gives and gives and then forgives. ठीक है भैया तू ले ले कितना तू लेगा क्या लेगा कहाँ ले जाएगा, and then it gives one fatak and the coronavirus comes. My dear friends, sensitivity is the first and foremost thing that is required. A sensitivity about the whole balance of existence. And by the way, the word dharma represents this concept. Dharma is nothing else. Dhrayati iti dharma, one that holds everything together. That is the principle of dharma. It's beautifully stated. Let's become dharmic by becoming sensitive first. That is the first S. The second S, and I'm going to redefine the greatest Mahavakya of the Eastern philosophy. Aham Brahmasmi. Such a beautiful statement. It says you don't even have to search the God elsewhere. You, by definition, are the very Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. I'm saying let's go at least to one smaller level. Aham society, peace. Let's first recognize that we have got social accountability before self-accountability. I think unless this idea comes that I am a representative, a caretaker, and the trustee of society, and I need to proactively engage about anything that is good about the society, I think we need to know the difference between concern and care. We need to know the difference between concern and care. We are all on a 1 to 10 scale at level 9 related to concern. You know why? Be it a Facebook thing, be it a WhatsApp, we put our likes, we put our thumbs up, we put our love sign, and we have done our duty. Far from it, my dear friends, far from it. That is only indicative, that is only symbolic. That is concern, intellectual orientation. Care is action orientation. Care is the willingness to do something about it. And it contains two things as a matter of discipline: enabling and ensuring doing the right things, preventing and prohibiting doing the wrong things. Are we all ready to take up this responsibility that we, for the sake of society, will enable and ensure doing the right things and be those kind of fighters out there on the streets to prevent and prohibit doing the wrong things? Unless that dharmic sense of fighting what is not right or giving a challenge to what is not right comes in, we would have done injustice to the society. Aham Brahmasmi, let us at least substitute that with I am society. So the second S that I'm talking about is social accountability. Which brings us to the third one, beautifully talked of by our friend Madhusudan Saab: share, care, sacrifice. Very much required. Share, care, and sacrifice. That has got to become our fundamental quality. We have enough and more. We have enough and more if we honestly look at beyond what we require. And nothing wrong about that. Aspirations are perfectly okay. But the willingness to have the wisdom of constantly balancing that to the external world, because what is it that we can carry at the end of it? Such a beautiful question. No, what do we carry? Do we carry our tons of money to the graveyard? Do we carry our bungalows and cars to our, kind of funeral pyre? None. Why can't we make, at this point of time, as we are existing, a culture of sharing and caring which is most meaningful? And sometimes, and I'm saying sometimes, a sense of sacrifice. Sacrifice is a very special word. Because in sacrifice, you are willing to give something very highly valuable in exchange or even at the cost of something least valuable or of no value. That is sacrifice. But believe me, Dharma calls for sacrifice at times. Can we become people not just self-preoccupied, but also a little more sacrificing, sharing and caring with action? This is the third S. So we talked about sensitivity and universal concern, and we talked about social accountability and society, and we are talking about caring, which is the display of action in the second one that we talk about, social accountability. I do something, I show up, I act, I inspire people. There's a beautiful experience I had years back. I was doing this workshop in Bombay, and there was this youngster, I'll never forget his name. His name was Coelho. Coelho is the surname. He was a Goan Christian, and I'm from Bombay. I'm from Andheri. So, these names are very familiar to me. I remember the boy, young 23-year-old boy. Now, he made a beautiful statement because he was talking about his own personal life, and he talked about the conviction that he built about going to the church. And he talked about the conversation that he had with his father. Because he said, as a youngster, I thought it was, why should people go to the temples and churches for prayer and all that? I will pray. God is everywhere. I'll pray at home. I believe his father asked him a beautiful question. I believe his father asked him, do you believe in virtues and good qualities in people? He said, yes, I do believe. And he said, do you believe that those good qualities and virtues should be appreciated? He said, yes. So he said, my son, how would people know that you have good qualities and virtues in you? He said, I will show them in my behavior. He said, very good. So you will show the world. Why should you show to the world? Why don't you have the qualities in your mind but never show it? Then he said, what is the point? Because unless those good qualities are expressed and put outside, the world will not benefit from that. He said, exactly the same. My son, do you believe about God or that superpower? He said, yes. Do you think the world must, and the other people in the world must also appreciate this concept of that superpower or that creator? He said, yes. Then he said, then let them know. It's a symbolic way in which you acknowledge the existence of God. And that is the reason you go to the church. Yes, it is symbolic, but it's a message to the world that you believe in this belief. My dear friends, time for us to show in action, showing it up. And that's what I mean by sharing and caring. Show in action. Which takes us to the fourth, very beautiful S. So we talked about sensitivity. We talked about Aham society. We talked about share and care and sacrifice. Now comes the most beautiful thing which Gandhiji talked about. Sada Jivan Ucha Vichar. Simplicity. There's a spiritual teacher, and he used to have this statement in Tamil. I'll translate that. It's a one-liner. Unnuடைய தேவையின் அநியாயங்களை உணர்ந்து கொள். Say, please understand the unreasonableness of your needs of life. Sada Jivan Ucha Vichar. Simplify life. I think more of less is learning now. Very, very beautifully. Corporate organizations are saying let 70% of the people work from home. 50,000 people can work from home. Kevin Kerr, the managing director says we are shutting down our corporate office. We are closing down the 3 branches. Ranganathan sir made a beautiful statement today. We recognize that. We don't require it. Simplifying life. Now it's coming suddenly as a big revenue to the corporate world. And we have this compulsion that corporate will need to teach us every time about simple things of life. No, Gandhiji, our own culture, our own philosophy has talked about living in simplicity. In fact, I still remember my industrial relations professor, Dr. S.R. Mohandas. Hey, what's your problem, Raja? After all, you are a vegetarian, right? Moonu kavalam, thair sadam, and your life is made. All that I'm saying is, let us always be aware of our needs, and let's always be aware of going beyond the needs. One is not even saying, I'm sitting in front of you, in front of a huge bookshelf. I know that I'm not simplicity per se. All that I'm saying is, I'm very clear as to where I would put my investment. If these knowledge sources are very important for me, that I trade because I buy probably a new car once in 3 years, maybe once in 10 years. That's my way of becoming simple in my life at the position and level that I am. All that I'm saying is, let's simplify life. And when we simplify life, we find ourselves to be much more resourceful. I leave you with that one quotation, Simplicity by Og Mandino, the fantastic motivational writer. Og Mandino, my friend, he says, your poverty is not determined by what you do not have in life. I'm repeating this again. Og Mandino says, your poverty is not determined by what you do not have in life, but your richness is determined by what you don't need in life. Your richness is determined by what you can live without in life. What a beautiful definition. The more I recognize that I can live with less, more simplified my life becomes. Sensitivity, social accountability, share and care, simplicity, and finally, the fifth S, self-awareness. Before, system awareness, material awareness, or scientific awareness. Self-awareness. What is self-awareness? These 5 instruments are all the time taking me to the world. You know, the word boredom, the word entertainment, In a manner of speaking, these are all social diseases caused by the human mind. You would never feel bored. When you say I'm bored, what you are saying is that I got excess time in my hand. I see. When you say I need entertainment, what you're saying is, by the way, you know what is the equivalent Sanskrit word for entertainment? Kama. This is from Paramarthaji, none other than Paramarthaji. Our desire that drives us so much for entertainment. Yeah? So for the last 4 months, you have not been watching crazily, running your air conditioner in the middle of the midnight, your IPL matches. Any problem? Anybody died of heart attack because of not watching? Yaar, tum to reh sakte ho, yaar. Let's understand this. The world of external attraction and entertainment will constantly drive us towards that, draw us towards that. And that is the world without. So I'm saying, let's, instead of running to the world without, with outside is called without, let us get into the world within. I will not even say within. Let's choose being in with ourselves. Being self-aware. Being in touch with the deeper reality that I am the Atmic truth. My form can change, my shape can change, my growth can change, my evolution can change in the world of forms. You think I was born with a bald head when I was, kind of a few days old? It happened. You think I was 82 kilos when I was born? It happened. Everything that forms, deforms, transforms. That is the only truth. And what changes is not the truth. The truth is that which never changes, which, my dear friends, my dear brethren of this wonderful institution, is present in each one of you. The soulfulness, the spirit, the Atma in all of us. Let's get in touch with ourselves. Let's teach our children self-awareness. Let's teach them that the world is one of collaboration, not necessarily competition. Let's tell them that the least that we can do is share and care in action. Let's pick up the 5 S principles. Time for us to take a different call. Time for us to create a different world, and an opportunity for us like never before. My dear friends, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being there and listening to this. My pranams and my salutations to every one of you. Thank you.